Good morning. I'm glad that you all are here. If you don't remember, I'm Miss Bascom, and I'm going to be coordinating your community nursing course this semester. Just one thing that was said during the break, so it won't be on the video, was about one of the things that you can join, and so that just triggered my memory to remind you all about the Nursing Alumni Association. You can join this semester, and I'll be posting some information about how to join that. And we do have a nursing chapter now, so you'll actually be joining the chapter, and we're planning our first event for this semester, so you'll be invited to that. It is, I believe it's $40 to join, but it's for the whole year, and you get to put that on your resume, and you get to be part of the chapter and come to the event. And we are trying to get something where we can have CEUs at the event, so it would be free CEUs. But we're hoping to do better than we did last year. The money that you contribute to join actually goes to a scholarship fund. And last year we had, I believe, 188 students join, and we raised over $6,000 for the scholarship fund. So we're hoping to do even better than that this year. So I'll send out that information and let me know if you have any questions, okay? So now let's jump into community. And I hope you all remember that the best way to kind of navigate through your courses is through the modules tab. And I've broken everything out into modules based on the assignment. And when you open this, it's going to look like a lot. So everybody take a deep breath. Does anybody need to stand up and shake for a minute? Some of you that may have worked last night. Just bear with me through this. I'm going to touch on all the assignments and kind of give you some highlights of some things that I feel like it may be helpful to share face-to-face or via the video. And then when you go back to actually do the assignment, you can pull up the video and watch that part again, because I know it's a lot to take in at once, and you may not remember the specifics by the time that assignment comes around. So it'll be on the video, and you can go back and watch it then, okay? The first thing I'm just going to pull up is the course syllabus. Now this course, one of the reasons it looks so large is it's a 6-hour course, okay? So remember, your English or your math or whatever else you may be taking is probably 3 hours. So this should have technically twice the amount of work that those have. So that's why it looks so intense. But you can do it. Dr. Terry Todd is my assistant coordinator, so if I'm not available, feel free to contact him. And he was your coordinator of your health promotion last semester. Alright, you're going to need that same public health nursing textbook for this course this semester. And let's get down to what you really want to know. Your assignments. So here I've got broken out your assignments, how many points there were, and then your clinical assignments. So you have 3 discussion boards that validate your clinical hours. So those must be completed, and you must have a total combined average score of 85% to pass the course, no matter what your grades are in the course. So you may have a 98 in the course, but if you fail to complete these discussion boards, you will still fail the course. So make sure you do those, okay? And then you can see here, this is the title of the modules, and I have those broken out in the modules tab with the instructions and the notes. But on here it has the titles, and then if there are different assignments, like you have 2 ATI modules. And hopefully some of you took advantage of doing those over the break to just get those out of the way, so you can go ahead and submit those now. And then I've got the points here besides, so each one is worth 25 points. And so all of those are your assignments and the points. And here's the grading scale. And we're about to go through all those. You know about communicating with us. And here's your topical outline. And this is just an overview of what we're going to be talking about. And hopefully you know by now that once you get down to the conceptual teaching outline, this is kind of the roadmap of our course. And so it's got every assignment, the course outcomes that we're meeting by that assignment. We try not to include busy work. I know sometimes it feels like it, but we really do have a point or intention that we're trying to get you to understand and learn from these assignments. And I know community nursing is not going to be everyone's favorite. It was actually my least favorite course when I was in nursing school, and now here I am teaching it. So be careful what you say. Never say never. But I've actually grown to love this course, and I've tried, Miss Walker actually started revamping this course a couple of years ago, and then I took it from her, and we've tried to revamp the assignments and make them more up to date, more things that you can really utilize in your work setting no matter where you are, and to help you really understand. And I think that's part of the reason I didn't like community nursing when I was a student, is I didn't understand it. I didn't see the importance of it. So hopefully, since you are already working nurses, this will be more relevant to you and you can really understand it and appreciate it. So then we have the outcomes that we want you to meet, your required activities, and how we're evaluating you on those activities. So this tells you the chapters you're going to read, the notes, and the assignments, and then how we're evaluating you. So if you ever need to refer back to that, it's there on your syllabus. Okay? And then there's a little introduction about me. If you want to know a little bit more about me, click on it to see my cute little family. We went to the Gaylord Opryland Hotel in Nashville for New Year's. So that's my son Grant and my little girl Alice and my husband Bobby. I know, right? I think they're all asleep. The group member evaluation form is here only if you're having trouble with your group members and you don't want them to receive the same grade as everyone else. We hope that you do not have to utilize this form. We have some check marks in place. I've added some forms for your project management, kind of like you do in research, to try and help facilitate this process so that everyone is involved, everybody knows the deadlines, so that hopefully we do not have to use this form. However, once that deadline has been established and you say, I'm going to turn in all of my section, everybody else is going to turn in their sections to the group leader by this date, if you don't turn it in, then your group has the right to say, we don't want them to get the same grade. And they have their documentation where they gave you the deadline and you agreed to it, and then they'll fill out this form and your grade can be lowered. So make sure that you're working together as a group and try to help each other out and pull your part. You don't want somebody else to pull you through this program. You need to do your part, especially if you're planning to get a master's degree, because you're going to have to do that on your own. Nobody's going to put you through that. You should know by now how to get your ATI certificate, and then those are the two that you're going to turn in, so you just click on that and upload your certificates. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the vulnerable populations assignment. Excuse me, I've got some congestion today myself. Your vulnerable populations assignment I've got here, at the beginning of each module, I have instructions for that module. So here you see vulnerable populations module instructions. The next one has community advocate module instructions. Please read your instructions before you do anything. I also have notes, and you have instructions to read chapters in your book. You know, I understand. There's not enough hours in the day sometimes. You can't read everything, every word. But if you will get your book and look at the highlights and look at the things that they've pulled out in the tables and the pictures and the charts, and then look at these extra notes that I've added that are very helpful websites, most of them, then you'll really have a better understanding before you start your assignment. And think about it when you were in nursing school. Would you have shown up for the exam without ever attending a lecture? No. So since we don't see you face to face to lecture you, this is the information that we're giving you like a lecture. Okay, that's where you're getting your information, from the textbook and from these notes. And I know sometimes the textbook can be hard to understand if you've never heard of this information before, and that's why I try to pull some extra notes from the internet and things that would be more applicable or understandable, okay? The vulnerable populations assignment is just like one of those assignments you had last semester where it's a document, you open it, fill in the blanks, save it, and turn it in. So you're just going to put your name on it, answer these questions, fill it out. Remember to save it on your computer when you open it, and then save it as you work on it, because we don't want you to lose any of your work before you turn it in, okay? I know a couple times someone has opened it and just started working on it, and you do have to click enable editing before you can save it. But sometimes people have started working on it and they forget to save it, or they think it's saving it in Canvas since they opened it from Canvas, and it doesn't. You have to save it on your computer while you're working on it. I feel like that assignment, excuse me, is pretty self-explanatory once you go through the notes and read the instructions. Your community advocate assignment is a group assignment. You get to self-select your group of 3 to 4 people. Please email me who is going to be in your group, and I will place you in those groups in Canvas so that only one person from your group has to submit the assignment, and your grade will be shown up for all three or four of you. These instructions, please read these instructions before you start, and start on it ahead of time. There are actually two parts to this assignment. There's a resource agency Google Doc, and then there's the actual assignment that you fill out. So you have to choose your group and choose a resource agency before you actually complete the assignment. The assignment is interviewing someone from the agency and answering these questions, but the agencies are first come, first serve, because one year, yes ma'am?
In those self-groups, do you have to be in the same section to choose from, or can you choose from anybody?
You need to be in the same TE, the same section, the same course. Okay. And you'll see, if you're not sure, you can see that under people in your course. Click on the people tab and it'll show you who is in your course. And you should know, like, if when you sign in it says NU465 TE1, then whoever you want to be in the group with, there should also say NU465 TE1. Okay. So the agencies are first come, first serve. So you need to click on this Google Doc. I've given you instructions about how to edit it. It will probably ask you to sign in to your Gmail account first. So you may have to do that before you can type on it. And then you just add the agency that you want and your group's information. I've given you an example here. I pretended like some of the instructors were in a group, and so I showed you exactly what I want you to type, and then you type your agency. Now you can have the same agency in a different location. So if we were doing Salvation Army, and I wanted to do Salvation Army in Tupelo, and Mr. Calvary wanted to do Salvation Army in Starkville, that's fine. But we both can't do Salvation Army in Tupelo, okay? Because there are approximately 350 of you, and the first year we did this assignment and we did not say first come, first serve, we had those resource agencies calling up here saying, please tell your students to stop calling me. I cannot accept any more phone calls. I've had 40 of your students call me this week, okay? So that's why we have to limit it. So look on here. The sooner you get signed up, the better, because then you don't have to scroll back through the whole document to see what everybody else has signed up for, okay? There is a fine. Trying to remember where it is. Last year, I found a find option, kind of like in Word, where you can find a word and replace it with another word. And so if you can find that, you go in there and type in the name of your agency, and it'll search the document for you and see if someone else has signed up for it. Find and replace. So you type your agency, whatever you're looking for, and find it. Don't replace it with anything, but see if it shows up. And that'll be an easier way. If a lot of people have already signed up and there's like 3 pages, then you'll have to scroll back over that. Okay. So that's the first thing. You need to create your group. Then you need to do this to make sure you get the agency that you want. And then you contact the agency and complete the assignment. Okay, and the assignment is just like your vulnerable populations, where you just fill out the document. Okay.
Hannah, can they do food banks and stuff with that?
There is a list. You can do any type of agency. Hang on, there's a list. It must be on the instructions. I want to read it so that I don't say anything different from what it says.
I know that's always a question, and I never know the correct answer. Do some of your churches have
Here is the list. These are some examples, okay? You can't do health departments. You can do United Way, Salvation Army, Red Cross, Safe, Community Care, Free Clinics, Stupot Community, Catch Kids, Community Transportation Resources, Head Starts, Mobile Clinics, Community Health Centers, Meals on Wheels, Food and Clothing Banks, Community Mental Health Centers, missions and shelters, and church-sponsored health and social service assistance. Okay, so that's lots to choose from when you think about the whole state of Mississippi. We don't want you to do health departments because you've already done that assignment in health promotion last semester. Okay. Alright.
So, does this have to be in the state of Mississippi?
Yes.
Because we were talking about it before, okay.
The clinical assignments have to be in the state of Mississippi for, it's like when we take students to the hospital for clinical, our license are in the state of Mississippi. And your family has a client module. Once again, I have instructions and I have extra notes. This is an assignment that has a discussion board. So you're going to have to go in and do the discussion board to get your clinical validation. And then here's the assignment. Now this assignment, you're going to do a genogram and an echo map. How many of you have heard of that before? Or seen that? Some of you maybe in biology, something like that. Or some of you maybe even at work, depending on where you work or what you do. But there is an example in your textbook, and I've also linked you to some web pages that have some examples. And for this assignment, you are answering questions about your family, because I want you to learn about your family. And as Ms. Walker already stated, what are some of the health problems that my family history has so that I can make changes, or I can make changes for my children or my grandchildren. So that's what you're looking at. However, on this genogram, I've given you a fake family to make a genogram because we want to know that you know how to make a genogram. So you're going to make a genogram for your family, but you're going to turn that in on the discussion board to get your credit for clinical hours, okay? Because I don't know your family. I don't know if you have 4 aunts and 3 uncles, or your grandmother's really passed away or not. So I would have no idea of knowing if your family's genogram is correct. So I can't grade that on, is it accurate, is it correct? So you're turning that in on your discussion board for your clinical validation. But the genogram that you're doing here, you're doing off this fake family so that we can grade it for accuracy, okay? But all the questions that you're answering on here are about your family. And you can see I've said about your family, I think, on all the questions, so hopefully it won't be too confusing. I'm going to show you how to edit this real quick, and you can come back to this video for this assignment. So I've got these shapes here, and they're triangles. For those of you who've seen genograms before, what should the shapes be? Circles or squares, depending on the gender of the person you're talking about, okay? So you would just click on the shape, right click, and edit it. And so you would want to change the shape to a circle or a square. You can change the color. You can edit it any way you want to. You can even move it around if you needed to. If you needed to add a line or another circle, this one is pretty set up. I don't think you're going to have to do any big editing other than changing the shape and the color and then typing in the boxes. But if you wanted to take this template and make your family's genogram and change it around, then you can copy the shape and paste it, and then you can move it wherever you want to, okay? You can copy a line, you can copy a text box, whatever you need to copy and paste and move it wherever you want to, okay? There's also an echo map. And this is on your family, not the fake family, because you don't know what the fake family is doing. So this is about you and your family and what you're involved in. Are you involved in church, your work, friends, recreation? Whatever you do goes out here. Your a little sort of genogram goes in here. It just doesn't have all the information about marriage and death and diseases and all that. It's just, are you married? Do you have siblings? And the same thing applies. You can click on the shape, right click, edit it, copy, paste it. If you need to add more, move it around. And then these are your relationships between yourself and whatever you put in this bubble. So if you type church in this bubble and you want to say you have a strong relationship to the church, then you click on this line, copy it, paste it. Oh, sharks. Try again. Copy it, paste it, there we go. And then move it and click on the green dot and drag it to where you want to create that strong relationship between you and that bubble. Okay? So I've given you all the tools here. I've given you the lines. I've told you what the keys mean. I've given you the basic design of the genogram, so all you have to do is edit it. You don't have to create anything from scratch. Okay? I hope that's helpful, but I understand that there are some of you that have never done anything like this on the computer before. So if you get started and it's just overwhelming, don't freak out. Just pick up the phone and call me, and I'll walk you through it, okay? All right, so I think those are the two biggest things on this assignment. There are a lot of questions, but they're about your family. They shouldn't be that hard to answer. It's just going to be editing those two diagrams that are going to be kind of time-consuming, okay? Any questions about that right now? Like I said, you can come back, watch the video, read the instructions before you complete the assignment. Okay. Your big sort of capstone project in the community course is your community assessment. How many of you have heard of community assessments before? A few of you? Well, I want you to think of the community assessment like a patient assessment. Instead of it being a singular person that you're assessing, you're looking at the community. So you're looking at what are its strengths, what are its weaknesses, what are its problems. And since we're nurses, we're especially going to focus on health care. What health care is available? Is there a big obese population? Is diabetes running rampant? Is there a flu epidemic in this community right now? So you're looking at all these problems. You're pretending like, well, the community is your patient in this scenario. And so you're doing your assessment, you're evaluating it, and you're figuring out what can I implement to make changes. And that's going to be what you write up. Now, as Ms. Walker already said, you're going to be placed into a community group. There are a lot of you. You live all over the state of Mississippi, and some of you don't even live in Mississippi. So I'm going to do the best that I can to at least put a few people in each community group that actually live in that community or close enough to that community to visit it if they needed to. Okay? However, you may not get in the community that you live closest to out of all the choices, and you may not be able to visit that community based upon where you are or your work schedule. However, there's a lot of information you can get off of the internet. There are other things that you can help your group with. You can edit the paper. You can put the paper together. You can, take on a different role other than the one that's maybe the windshield survey, where you go and look at the actual structures of the community. If you live 5 hours away, you probably don't want to take that part, okay? So I've created a management plan template for you to go in and assign roles to each group member. Once you get those groups, I will not have those groups created probably until after the last drop date. So January 24th, I believe you said it was, is probably when I'll publish those groups, because I want to try to make them as equitable as possible as far as, how many people are in each group. And so I want to wait and make sure whoever's going to drop has done so before I start that. You will have a faculty mentor for this project. So one of the full-time faculty will be assigned your group as your mentor, and we will help walk you through this process. Okay, we're going to make sure that you have a timeline, you have a schedule of when you're supposed to be doing what. You're going to turn in your management plan to us so that we know all the information has been distributed. You all have a deadline. You know when you're supposed to get that information to your team leader. And if you have any questions, you can contact that mentor. Because as I said, there are a lot of you, there are going to be a lot of groups, and so it's helpful. You get quicker feedback if you have a different faculty member to assign specifically to you to answer than if you were all asking me. I couldn't get back to you all in a timely manner. So some of you may have Mr. Calvary, some of you may have Dr. Williams, some of you may have Dr. Todd, just for that assignment, okay? In the instructions, it also tells you that if you submit your draft of your paper in a timely manner, so your faculty mentor will give you a deadline, and if you meet that deadline to submit your draft, then they will edit it for you and give it back to you with comments before you turn it in for grading. But you have to meet that deadline. If you choose not to turn it in for editing and you just turn it in for a grade, you can't argue your grade, okay? If you didn't turn it in and get the feedback on it, then whatever grade you got stands. You don't get to do it again after the fact, okay? There is a rubric on your community assessment paper. So once you get in here and you open this assignment, you're going to see that there's a form called the windshield survey, and that's got most of your questions on there about your community. A lot of them are physical things like your community. Someone will probably have to go there and drive through and see the buildings and what it looks like and what's available. And they may even do some interviews with some people there. So if a couple people could get together and do it, that would be ideal. But there may be some questions that you can't get off of that form, but that form will be turned in your discussion board for your clinical validation. So when you write your paper, you're going to take that information from your windshield survey, but you're also going to look at this rubric and make sure that you're answering all these questions in your paper. Okay, so if the question wasn't asked on your windshield survey, then you may have to go to the internet or call the courthouse or call the mayor or whatever you need to do to answer all these questions. And then at the bottom, at the end of your paper, you're going to do an assessment and evaluation, what you think is good about your community, what you think is wrong with your community, and what you think you could do to improve your community. Because isn't that what we do as nurses? We look at our patients and we see what's wrong and we see how we can help them. So that's what we're doing with this community assessment. We want you to sum it up and summarize and say, this is how I can help. This is what I diagnosed my community with, and this is how I'm going to intervene in my community. Okay? Now, if you know anyone who's gone through our program in the past, and if they've talked with you about their community assessment, then we used to take that highest priority problem in our community and do an implementation project on that. And that was wonderful. However, we ran into some problems with some people not being able to attend and not being able to make it to their specific community. And Ms. Walker went to a conference, and as she was sharing with you earlier about Joint Commission really stressing antibiotic stewardship and what a big problem that is right now. So we just had a light bulb moment, and we said, we have 350 students. What if all of our students taught on one thing? What a great impact that would be on the state of Mississippi. So I've given you instructions for your community implementation project. It is going to be an individual assignment, so it's not going to be with your community group. You're going to do this part by yourself, but you're going to go to the CDC website. They have flyers, they have handouts, they have information. You can basically take their information and just put it in a PowerPoint. Okay, so I want you to get a good understanding of the concept so that you can answer questions, so that you know who's an appropriate audience, that kind of thing, but you're not recreating the wheel. You're not having to start completely from scratch and do all this research to find the information. The information is already right here for you, okay? And then I want you to present that to at least 5 people, 5 lay people. That could be your family, that could be a church group, that could be a women's group, that could be your book club. But we really want to reach the community. So we really don't want you to do it to your classmates. We really don't want you to do it to your fellow nurses unless you really think they don't have a clue about antibiotics. But we really want you to target those people who are going to the doctor and saying, hey, I need you to write me a prescription for antibiotics, no matter, if they just have a cold or their child has a cough. We want you to educate those people because we really want to make a difference on this topic in the state. And you can do that in your community, wherever you are, where it's convenient for you. And like I said, I've got instructions, I've got extra notes, you've got the website for the CDC there, and then you've got, you're actually going to record yourself with that implementation. And so you're going to submit it like you did your physical assessment last semester. Everybody say, oh me. But you can do it, right? You've got one time under your belt, so you know. If you had any trouble with YouTube, you know to get started earlier this time, or maybe you had to do an alternate route, just let me know. We'll work with you. You can actually upload it directly into Canvas through the media links if you know how to do that. I think some students were a little more successful with that. But if not, YouTube's fine. Just upload that URL. On your discussion board, there are some questions that you'll answer, but I want you to upload a copy of your PowerPoint because sometimes on the videos we can't read the PowerPoint. The video may not be that clear. So we want a copy of that in your discussion board, and then your video will actually be uploaded for the implementation. Okay? And in a nutshell, that is community. Deep breath. Any questions? I know that's a lot. You can give me a call once you get started if you have any questions. I feel like there are going to be questions about that genogram.